Hello and welcome back to Quarterlight. Today we're going to look at a car that's a little bit different. It came out of East Germany and was manufactured by AWE. It's the Wartburg. In particular, we're going to look at the Wartburg 353, or as it was known in the UK, the Wartburg Knight. It was produced between 1966 and 1988, which is a long production run for sure, and in fact it was the longest production run of a Wartburg car. The brochure we're going to look at is here, and it's actually a UK brochure, and it gives you a bit of a clue straight away. Wartburg 353, even though this is a UK brochure, and they're selling it as the Wartburg Knight. Incidentally, this replaced the Wartburg 311 if you're interested. The rear of the book shows the rear of the car rather nicely. Now this brochure doesn't have a date on it. I think it's from around about 1970, though there is a mention of 1970 and the grille changing to black. But it does show like the original cars from 1966 within the brochure itself. So we'll open this brochure straight away and we'll see what else we can find within this UK brochure. Okay, and here is the first inside look of that brochure. And he started to say, what should the motor car today be like? Up to date, reliable, safe, comfortable, spacious, and with a performance to suit modern road conditions, I should say. The new Wartburg. And it says made by, and this is where I call it AWE. I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce that because I know I'll do it wrong, but it was known as AWE. Has and does all of these things, designed for the roads of the world, and indeed it wasn't just sold in Eastern Germany, it was sold throughout Europe and, like I say, into the UK. Designed for the roads of the world and for the more fastidious customer, it is built by craftsmen in one of the oldest manufacturing plants in the world. Look at the saloon. The body is styled in the shape of our time, but this car not only looks good, it has plenty of room for 5 people, has 4 doors, and is very easy to park because of the outstanding lock. It's a big car in its class, and every inch of space functionally utilised. And this is showing the saloons. The saloons, like I say, were known in the UK as the Wartburg Knight. We will later on look at the estate, and that in the UK was known as the Wartburg Tourist. We'll have a look on the next page. And here is the next page. Again, here it's talking about travel and enjoying driving, and even talks about international rallies, and it did have a certain amount of success in international rallies, surprisingly enough. You can see by the dash, actually, it was very well equipped for the time. It's got all the gauges. It's even showing a radio. I don't know if the radio was an optional extra or not, but it's certainly showing it in there. And one of the selling points was that it was so well equipped compared to similar, well, this was classed as like a medium-sized family car, so equivalent to medium-sized family cars. It was quite well equipped. A very sort of 60s image there with the girls in those 60s dresses coming to drive away in this Wartburg. Does it look stylish? It looks very boxy, and it straight away it looks East German. Without even knowing it from Eastern Germany, but I guess this is a 1966 car, so really when you think about a 1966 car, it wasn't too badly designed really. Now you have another lovely scene there, very 60s scene again, and now it's showing the boot, and it was a reasonably sized boot, showing all the luggage that it can fit in there. Of course the lip is extremely high to pick the luggage up again, but like I say, it's a 1966 design, so we can quite excuse that. And this is what it explains. The 1970s car have a new black front grille, so I'm assuming it's a 1970s brochure, even though it's showing these 1966 cars. Here now we have an artist's impression on the centre pages of the Wartburg Knight, kind of showing the proportions, I guess, although they were front wheel drive and apparently they were a little bit forward centre of gravity, I guess, and they certainly did have a lot of understeer apparently. Here we are now have the estate version of the Wartburg Knight, the Wartburg Tourist or Wartburg Knight Tourist as it shows here. So as you can see now, a reasonably practical estate car. Again, it's just showing artist renditions on this page rather than the actual car, but you can certainly see that there is a lot of luggage space in that car. Now we do at least get a better look at the estate now than an exact, or rather so an actual example of the estate there on the road. And it doesn't have a split fold tail seat, but it does have a full folding rear seat, which certainly adds to its practicality. And if you notice, the load lip isn't really there anymore. It is just a very easy to get any sort of luggage in there with that very low sill height now. So yeah, I think the estate was probably the better one of the two. It was a much more practical vehicle, and as you can see, when the tailgate lifts up, it still shows the reflectors on the back there. So some clever little touches to what is essentially an extremely cheap car. This is a nice page. I think it's one of my favourite images in the brochure on this particular one. It shows it in various places. At first it's like at a garden centre, loading up with flowers, then it's loading up with luggage and showing it with the luggage on the ground. And I think that's actually the actual Wartburg factory by the looks of it, I would assume. It's also showing on here a tourist sticker on the rear glass, and also a tourist badge on the rear of the car as well. It also gives you a better look of them rear lights and also them little reflectors, which are very clever when the boot lid or hatch is in the upward position. Actually, I take it back. I think this is actually my genuine favourite page. We've had to wait all the way to the last page of the brochure for it to show us any mechanicals at all. I don't know if they were a little bit scared to say it was a 2-stroke 3-cylinder engine, but they've kind of like left it to right at the end. And this unusual sort of chassis arrangement is very interesting as well. It's saying on here, all Wartburg models are of technical up-to-date design and lubrication services are only necessary at 30,000 mile intervals. Yes, another real selling point of this car was them huge service intervals. Like I said, 30,000 miles even today is unheard of. And like I say, it's a 3-cylinder 2-stroke engine with a 4-speed gearbox, which is actually all synchromesh, which was quite advanced at the time, I guess. Like I said, these very interesting technical pictures of the engine and the gearbox, and I really like how they've shown that unusual chassis. We look at the next page now, and it shows the specifications. The engine, a 3-cylinder 2-stroke bore, 73.5. So it's a 991cc engine, producing around about 55 horsepower. One of the advantages with 2 strokes, in some ways they can feel a little bit quicker than a 4-stroke. They're a much more revier engine, but I guess the problem is the fumes come out the back can be quite unwanted in many ways. It also shows on here the UK importer in London there, and of course the exporter in West Germany as well. So there are interesting little touches on this particular brochure. Unfortunately, it does say for prices and colour schemes available, please refer to a separate price list and colour chart. Sadly, I don't have that separate price list and colour charts. I am on the lookout for it. If you know of anyone who may have that, I may be interested. But an interesting car all the same. This car, one of the interesting facts about this car was in East Germany it was actually even used as a police car. A lot of the government departments like to use their own vehicles, and the Wartburg was one of those, so it could be seen as a police car. However, private individuals could apparently take up to 15 years in East Germany to get one. Can you imagine waiting 15 years for your car to arrive? We complain now with the chip shortage and waiting 6 months. Some people wait a year for a car these days with the chip shortage. Fancy waiting 15 years for your car and then finally getting it and finding out it was horrendous. But we'll come to that in a moment. So there we have it, the Wartburg Knight. So what's the reasons of buying one of these unusual little cars at the time? Well, like we say, great fuel economy, those long service intervals. It was a very simple machine, so you could work on it very easily yourself. And also that really low starting price of around about £616 certainly would have been very tempting. In fact, so tempting that even though it was an unusual car, it was from the East Bloc and had that little two-stroke engine in it, it still managed to sell 20,000 units in the UK, even though they stopped making the right-hand drive ones in 1976. So really, it did reasonably well for an unusual car. And the British market at the time, we really just bought British cars. We didn't really like buying exports. So I think it sold reasonably well, really, for what it was. The negatives, well, you waited for your new car to arrive. Lovely, shiny and new. You've not paid much money for it. And then took it out for a drive and realised it was absolutely terrible. Horrendous understeer on it. Extremely uncomfortable. I guess it was what it was, but I'm sure a lot of people were very disappointed with their brand new Wartburg Knight. We're always criticising the British car industry. Worst cars in history. Morris Marinas, Allegros. Marinas or Allegros were like supercars compared to this thing. Having said all that, would I own one? Of course I would. I'd love to own a Wartburg Knight. And in fact, when I was looking for my first car, I very nearly bought one, but it was in horrendous condition, so I walked away. But yes, I certainly would own one of these, even though I know it is probably one of the worst cars in history. Thank you so much for watching Quarter Light today. I know it's been a little bit of a different one, but I hope you've enjoyed it nevertheless. Anyway, for now, please do like and subscribe and comment, and we'll see you very soon. Take care. Goodbye.